Dover became the epicenter of rural rebellion today, as over 100 tractors rumbled through its streets in a slow-moving but high-impact protest, grinding traffic to a standstill and sending shockwaves through the political establishment. Organised by the Save British Farming and Fairness for Farmers campaign groups, the protest targeted the government's proposed inheritance tax changes, which farmers say threaten to obliterate family-owned agricultural properties valued over £1 million. Plastered with Union Jacks and placards bearing slogans like "No Farmers, No Food, No Future" and "Stop Substandard Imports," the convoy of tractors painted a dire picture of an agricultural sector at breaking point. Farmers, enraged by what they see as years of neglect and outright betrayal, have made it clear they're not going down without a fight. This was no ordinary protest, it was a warning to a government that many in the rural heartlands feel has turned its back on them. The tractors, flanked by lorries forced to crawl along Dover's streets, symbolised the slow suffocation of Britain's farming industry. Organisers and participants alike believe these proposals could become the final nail in the coffin for family farms, many of which are already struggling under mounting pressures. Farmers argue that this isn't just about numbers, it's about survival, about protecting a way of life and an industry vital to Britain's food security. Matt Cullen, a beef farmer from Canterbury who played a leading role in organising today's demonstration, didn't mince his words. "It's time for farmers to stand up and fight back," he declared. His tone carried the weight of a man who has had enough. Cullen, like many others, warned that this protest was only the beginning. If the government fails to engage, he says, further action is inevitable, and it won't be pretty. As the convoy made its way from farmland to the port town, its message grew louder. The farmers aren't just furious about inheritance tax, they're also railing against a host of other challenges, from substandard food imports flooding the market to crippling carbon taxes on fertiliser that make it harder to remain competitive. These, they argue, are symptoms of a deeper malaise, a government that prioritises political deals and global trade agreements over the very people who feed the nation. Among the protesters was David Catt, a market gardener and wholesaler from Maidstone. He directed his ire at the Labour Party, accusing it of betraying its core mission of defending hard-working Britons. "Labour was supposed to stand for people like us," he said, his voice tinged with disbelief and anger. "Instead, they're crucifying us." Catt echoed the sentiments of many in the crowd, who feel that the inheritance tax proposals disproportionately punish small family-run farms while doing little to address the larger issues facing British agriculture. The farmers' grievances extend beyond domestic policy. They see these inheritance tax proposals as part of a broader strategy to undermine British farming in favour of cheaper imports, including the now infamous chlorinated chicken and hormone-fed beef. Liz Webster, the founder of Save British Farming, didn't hold back, accusing the government of waging a culture war against rural communities to serve international trade agendas. "This government is playing with fire," she warned. "They're tearing apart farms that feed the country just to sign deals with people like Trump." This isn't the first time Britain's farmers have taken to the streets in protest. Just last week, Westminster saw a major farmers' rally where high-profile figures, including Clarkson's farm star Jeremy Clarkson, joined the fray. Clarkson, defying medical advice to avoid stress after a recent heart procedure, made a rare public appearance to lend his voice to the cause. His presence added star power to a movement that's rapidly gaining traction and sympathy. The momentum is building, and today's demonstration in Dover felt like a critical escalation. But while the tractors dominated the streets of Dover, political scandal brewed elsewhere, casting an even darker shadow over Britain's increasingly chaotic governance. London Mayor Sadiq Khan found himself at the centre of another firestorm, this time over Transport for London's TfL approval of advertisements promoting assisted dying. The ads, part of a campaign by Dignity in Dying, appeared on the Underground, sparking outrage from critics who see them as deeply inappropriate. Reform UK's Alex Wilson blasted Khan for what he called breathtaking double standards. He referenced previous TfL controversies, including bans on junk food ads and the approval of campaigns many deemed politically charged. "This is a mayor who blocks cake ads but allows campaigns for assisted suicide? It's incomprehensible," Wilson said, encapsulating the public frustration over what appears to be a lack of consistency in TfL's advertising policies. The timing couldn't have been worse. With MPs set to debate the contentious assisted dying bill later this week, critics accused Khan and TfL of fueling tensions. Conservative peer Lord Bailey voiced grave concerns about the impact of such ads on vulnerable individuals, particularly those struggling with mental health issues. "These adverts send the wrong message at the worst possible time," he said, calling for their immediate removal. For his part, Khan's office sought to distance the mayor from the controversy, claiming he has no direct involvement in TfL's ad approval process. But that explanation has done little to stem the backlash. Critics argue that Khan, as the public face of London's government, cannot shirk responsibility for decisions made under his watch. Meanwhile, another storm rages in Westminster as the debate over Labour's asylum policies heats up. Shadow Defence Minister Mark Francois tore into Labour's plans to streamline the asylum process, warning that it would create a dangerous pull factor for illegal migrants attempting to cross the Channel. Francois argued that making it easier and faster for asylum seekers to gain status would only encourage more perilous crossings, putting lives at risk. "It's a recipe for disaster," Francois said, pointing to the already staggering numbers of migrants attempting the journey and the tragic deaths that have occurred. "The more we signal that asylum is quick and easy, the more people will risk their lives to get here." Reform UK's Richard Tice piled on, lambasting Labour for increasing legal aid funding for asylum seekers, while the nation grapples with skyrocketing costs of living. "This is a slap in the face to hard-working taxpayers," he said. "Labour is pouring money into lefty lawyers, while people can barely afford to heat their homes." The government, for its part, is grappling with a backlog of nearly 63,000 asylum cases, a problem exacerbated by lawyer shortages and an underfunded system. Labour argues that their reforms aim to improve efficiency, but critics see them as a dangerous gamble that could backfire spectacularly. Today, across Dover and London, Britain seemed to be hurtling from one crisis to another. Farmers are readying for a prolonged fight to save their livelihoods, urban politicians are fending off accusations of hypocrisy and mismanagement, and the national debate over asylum continues to divide the country. For the farmers who braved the cold streets of Dover today, their message couldn't have been clearer. They won't sit idly by while their way of life is dismantled. The tractors may have left Dover by sunset, but their presence and the issues they raised are sure to linger. As the government weighs its next moves, one thing is certain: this isn't over. It's just the beginning. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned.